Hey, good morning, everybody. Good. Hello. Hello. Hey, good morning, everybody. Sure to appreciate you getting here on such short notice from last night or yesterday afternoon. First and foremost, it's a miracle because I know when I pulled into the garage not too long ago, it seemed as if I had my choice of spaces. So this committee literally drew that many people for Representative Clark, so we appreciate that. But what I want to do is we have one resolution on the agenda, and Representative Clark, could you please come up? And sir, whenever you're ready, if you could take the committee through the resolution, please.
Yeah, definitely. So pretty straightforward request to the committee for a study committee on drones. We had passed my drone bill, I think it was unanimously through the House, kind of got held up a little bit in the Senate, and I thought this would be a great time to have a study committee this year to kind of real dig deep into the national security risk and to understand more of this data stuff and the transmitting, and also with just new software that's coming out that could actually make certain drones not be a national security risk. So that's why I dropped it. It's definitely a technology that's moving very, very fast, and it's something that we use across this nation, and it's critical to law enforcement, to the military, to all of us. That'd be just a great thing to go study, to understand more, to be able to bring people in. I like to bring people from all over the nation, even here in Georgia, people who are studying this, who are creating software that could possibly also block the potential for the transmitting of data and all that for national security risks. So you actually could start the drone. So I thought it'd be a great bill to pass and to get a number of us on the study committee to study it. Just a few things which I highlighted a little bit on the floor, but it is more specific on China and the national security risk because they're a foreign adversary. I'm just making sure we're looking at specifically like the Autel and DJI, those drones, which they supply about 90% of the drone market. And then the national security risk, which has been put out, like the data collection, potential spying. So we could really look into that and assess it at Georgia at our level here in the state. Also with the critical infrastructure vulnerabilities is a huge thing, the cybersecurity risk. And then also, I think a big one is that we could look at is the dependence on foreign manufacturers. Many U.S. government agencies, including law enforcement, first responders, rely heavily on Chinese drones. And if a geopolitical tension escalates, China could potentially cut off supply chains, making it harder for the U.S. to maintain its drone capabilities. And I think it would be great. We could highlight also having people come in experts, but also highlighting what we have in the United States, even in Georgia, and what's being manufactured. And I think would be just a great way to kind of put that in the spotlight. But I'd be glad to take any questions, but I definitely think it's something we need to look at, and it's definitely technology that's moving fast, and it is a national security risk. We saw in New Jersey those drones, that were flying night after night over the military base up there. So it's something we need to dig into. So I'll take any questions, but I think it's straightforward.
Well, Representative Clark, I was about to say you don't have any questions, but I, in fact, was proven a fib. So, Chairman Prince.
Well, if I have the only question, I will go ahead and waive it.
No, sir.
Okay.
There's others with questions, and then on top of that, I have a question. Well, we have even more people with questions now.
Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Chair,
yes.
and thank you, Representative Clark, for bringing this. I just want to make sure, and I think you may have said it, and I probably missed it. Are we looking into the use of drones, or are we using to how they're, for lack of better words, manufactured? Because you keep mentioning China and different places like that. And then are we looking at this, and third, which you probably have answered already, how the government, i.e. federal government, is using them versus how the state can use these for our advantage? Over.
We'd be able to look at all that, and I think it would really open all of our eyes to understanding the whole aspects of just the drone market, the vulnerabilities, national security, on that. So I think we could dig deeper, and then being able to put that report out, I think all of us would be a lot wiser, understanding the capabilities and, you know, the national security risks, what's been done at the federal level, state levels, other states. Because I know like Connecticut's banned them, Florida's banned them, and there's like 4 other states. And so, you know, we could dig into that and then also bring in experts just to kind of understand drones as a
Quick
whole.
follow-up.
Please.
Based on what I've just heard you say and my question, and I appreciate that answer, is this a 1-year study committee or possibly a 2-year
It would
study
go
committee?
until December 1st.
So less than 1 year? We're
Yeah,
trying
I
to
think
find
usually
all this
on study
information?
committees, it's like 5 days. We
Okay,
we
I'm
would
just
meet.
thinking since this was a first term, first session of the term, I think I'm saying this right, that you were requesting a 2-year, because this seems like a lot to digest, but I look forward to
Well, who was
seeing how it goes.
put on the committee would get to work and work hard and bring in experts from all over. It is what I'd be doing.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Chairman Prince. Representative Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Clark. Are we limiting to just the study committee on aerial drones, or is this all drones, delivery drones, which is land, sea, like all drones, or just aerial drones?
I mean, we could do a little bit, I mean, of everything, but I mean, more aerial, but I mean, I think at the same time, if we have the time, we have 5 study committees, 5 days if it passed. If we think we need to dig into some other stuff, you know, we could bring in some of those speakers.
Okay. The reason why, may I follow up?
Please.
The reason why I ask is, as automation robots become more prevalent, I think there are drones like the delivery drones you see in some of our bigger urban cities that will have the capability of delivering lunch to a military base become more of a potential risk. Curiosity Labs right outside my district. If you're just driving through a section of the roadway there, you're going to see scooters that just pop up on its own and just start driving on its own because they're being remote controlled by someone in Mexico City, and they're testing those out in Peachtree Corners. And so I think the road and waterway robots that are coming our way are definite concerns as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, with technology, I mean, it's moving fast. I mean, it's crazy, and there's a lot to study to make sure we're all, you know, up to date and knowing what's good bills to pass, what's not, and what needs to change.
Do you mind if I follow up to your question, Representative Tran? Representative Clark, it does bring up a broader issue, sir. To Representative Tran's point, we now have drones that are submarines. We have drones that are boats. I mean, you know, I can't even start to fathom what the Pentagon is thinking about from I'll say a defense point of view. Sir, I know that you serve our country and we appreciate that. But I guess my question would be, can you maybe shine some light on for the committee, what is the federal government doing here? Because my hunch is it has to be on someone's radar in D.C., but we don't know what ever happens in D.C. So maybe a little bit of color, if you have any to share.
Yeah, I mean, the DoD is already, and the federal government is leading on this, and they have a list of approved drones for the interior, for their federal agencies and what drones they can use. I mean, I know that they allow some DJI drones for like wildfires and all that, but then and then they'll ban them for other certain things. So I think what this would do is pulling in from what the DoD is doing, also with just entrepreneurs and all that who are creating software. I mean, I talked to one person here in Georgia. They're working on a bunch of software to where they can make sure it's disconnected. It's not being able to allow the transmitting of data and all that. So I think it would really help us. And I think also it's not just about the federal government taking the lead. We have 50 states that make up America, and I think we all have a part to play because the federal government can miss something. I mean, easily. I mean, it can happen. So what if, but by holding this, bringing in experts, us processing, I think would do a lot to even help the federal government because there could be somebody at the Curiosity Lab, which is amazing, but somebody could be creating something there that hasn't been told yet, and then we find out, you know, and it could be a part of this discussion and actually make certain drones, safe on the national security levels.
Thank you, Representative.
Yep.
Representative Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the committee's edification, 60 Minutes had a great piece on this recently, and it focused on primarily Langley Air Force Base, which was the subject of multiple intrusions over long periods of time. And one of the things that the general officers talked about was that the legal architecture that exists isn't ready for this. And in particular, they noted that for the decision to potentially use force to take down a drone is one that is taken extremely seriously, as it should be, because of the potential collateral impacts on the civilian community. So my question would be, I would assume that one of the goals or outcomes of this potentially could be, while this is largely a federal issue, would be to set up systems in place for coordination among state authorities and local authorities. So if force ever needed to be used to protect our national security from these drones, which we have, of course, Army bases, Air Force Base, Marine installation, then a very, very sensitive naval installation on the coast. Is that one of the goals that you'd have for this, Representative Clark?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, true.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Representative Beckles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Clark, for bringing this. But I just have one question, and it's around line A where you say, whereas many drones, could that be scoped out a little bit clearer? I mean, we only have
Which line?
line 8, whereas many drones collect. I'm just offering a suggestion. Maybe we can just scope that and just identify, as some of my colleagues were mentioning, the types of drones that you're going to be studying.
Representative Beckles, just for clarity, are we talking, for instance, Representative Tran spoke about air drones, sea drones?
Yes,
is
correct.
Is that what you're trying to, I apologize, I'm just trying to ask for clarity.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can you maybe contemplate a friendly amendment if the author would be open to it? Draft that, and I'll give the mic to Chairman Thomas while you draft that, and then we come back to it. Is that okay with you?
Sure, I can work with Representative Clark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative Clark, for bringing this study committee to us. I want to start off by one of the first things that you said, and that was about the ability to mass produce drones and manufacturing drones in the United States. I think that's one of the, if you look historically, unfortunately, when we've gotten in conflict with other countries, our ability to outproduce those countries has always been beneficial, almost necessary for us. And I would challenge everybody to go back to World War II and look at the fact that how we outproduced the Germans significantly, which led to us winning the war. This technology is, we're changing the way that the battlefield is going to be played out. And that's not necessarily, I think, what you're trying to get into with this particular study committee. I do believe that there is a need to take a look at this. I get, and I'll just make this as a general comment to the committee, I get a little leery of putting too much guardrails on a study committee. If it's a study committee, I like to try to make it somewhat broad and let the study committee get together and decide kind of what avenue it needs to go down. Because eventually you're going to provide us with a report, and we can choose to do what we want with that report one way or another. I think what you have here is something that needs to be thought out. I think the questions from the committee show that there's definitely a need to investigate this. And I actually really probably not so much a question as just a comment, a general comment of support for what you're trying to do here. So thank you for bringing this today. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Cox.
Thank you for pursuing this. I think this is critical for not just the state of Georgia or our communities, but also across this country. And in concurrence with Chairman Thomas, would you say that by us looking at all drones, that there is the possibility there are drones we fully don't understand yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then to the point of micro drones that are used in warfare, and we're seeing that coming from enemies of the state, this would also include those type of drones as well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm very supportive of it, and I like the broadness of all drones personally. Thank you.
And I think having the broadness in the study committee is, whoever gets put on the study committee, we can sit down, we can talk and brainstorm and be like, hey, who should we bring together? Who should we ask to fly in? Also those here in Georgia, of course, Georgia also has some great people here. And then kind of decide as we move forward on that.
Representative, I think there's probably going to be a few amendments to Chairman Thomas's point and to Representative Cox's point, not to narrow your focus, but maybe just to shed some light on some of the conversation that's been discussed today. So we're going to go ahead and see what those amendments are, if that's okay. Oh,
Yep.
Excuse me. Hold on. Chairman Prince.
Oh, before, I was just going to make a motion at the proper time to do pass the actual bill.
It's the proper time
I'd like to make that motion.
to do pass the resolution.
To pass the resolution.
Thank
yes,
you.
sir.
Do I have a second? Second. Time for discussion. I'll open up the floor for amendments. I'll go ahead and start if that's okay, and you tell me if it's friendly or not. On line 12, I'd like, whereas the reliance on foreign adversary manufactured drones and chipsets limits domestic production, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yeah, that's fine.
Ally, are we okay? Okay, thank you. And then the second one, on line 14, whereas insert the state of before Georgia, and then after Georgia, and the U.S. federal government, and then currently lack, take out the S, take off the plural, and then the rest of 14 and 15 read the same. Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
That's fine.
Okay, here we go. You ready? On line 14, after the comma, the state of before Georgia, and then after Georgia, and the U.S. federal government, and then you have currently, and then take off the S off of lacks. And I'll let the Judiciary Committee members on the committee tell me if I'm doing that correctly or not. Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ally, did you get that? Yes. Okay, thank you. Are there any other amendments? Oh. If you don't mind, I'm going to hold that. I'm going to see if we can get them all friendly. I'd like to pass them as one block, if that's okay with you. Is that all right? Would you withdraw the motion? Okay, thank you. Representative Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would encourage an amendment to existing line 21, which sets forth the goals of the study committee to study the possible privacy and security impacts of the state's drone usage policies, and expand that by deleting the period and then adding as well as, comma, among other things, comma, the potential coordination of the federal, comma, state, comma, and local governments in developing procedures to ensure that interdictions take into account the safety and protection of local communities.
I just want to see what happens when a Judiciary Committee member does an amendment versus us mortals do an amendment. So I'm going to ask the Judiciary Committee member, because I'm sure Ally's right now looking at you going, if you could say that slightly slower. Just a tad. Oh, okay, great. But if you could, for the benefit of the committee, because I don't think everyone was able to write that fast, could you, did you just give your draft? Could you please read it one more time for the benefit of the committee?
I can. So line 21, and it gets to this idea of one of the key outcomes or potential outcomes would be to ensure the proper coordination between the different governmental entities, federal, state, and local. So we would delete the period and continue the purposes of the study on line 21 and add as well as let's see, as well as the potential coordination of the federal, comma, state, and local governments and developing procedures to ensure that interdictions take into account the safety and protection of local communities. So just have it specifically listed as a desired outcome.
Okay. And then the period.
And then the period. Yep.
You accept that as a friendly amendment?
I accept it.
Okay, thank you. Representative Tran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Chairman and the committee would consider, I think it's lines 3, 12, there may be other areas where we say foreign adversaries. India is probably going to become the #2 producer of all drones, not just aerial drones. And corporate espionage is not limited to our foreign adversaries. So if we could just use all foreign manufactured drones instead of foreign adversaries, I'd like to offer that as an amendment.
Representative? You don't have to accept that on this slate of friendlies. You can choose to have that discussed separately. That's up to you, sir.
I mean, we can still do the, I mean, kind of the same thing, but I mean, I think it's good putting in there. I mean, it does highlight, I mean, we do have foreign adversaries. I mean, not that there can't be others, countries who are friendly and they're spying and they're doing things, but we do have certain foreign adversaries who they've publicly, stated it. So it kind of highlights a little bit, and I think we should. I mean, there's times we take that stand a little bit to say we're going to look in a little extra hard into certain drones, and they do supply 90% of the drones market. So I mean, I'd rather not. I think sometimes you need to make a statement, our country, our state, saying, hey, we're kind of putting you on a little bit of alert. We're all watching you, because I know there's the feds, the DOD is really looking deep into DJI, Autel. They've labeled them, the Biden administration and now the Trump administration, as a military company. So, I mean, I'd rather not, but I mean, we can keep discussing.
Maybe as a potential friendly, Representative Tran, would you mind if I suggested a change?
Yeah.
Maybe it's, and just using line 3, I know it's down in 12, but whereas drones and unmanned aircraft from foreign adversaries and other, I'll just say, I don't want to use the word foreign again. I'm sure someone, either Representative Evans or Representative Holcomb, can come up with a good word, but and other than pose a security risk. Same thing on 12, foreign adversary, and I'll fill in the blank, other manufactured drones. My point being is we don't have to take out foreign adversaries. We just need to add in that these are entities outside of the United States of America. Does that make sense, sir?
That makes sense. I just want to make sure we don't limit our scope.
Okay, so if that's okay with you, Representative Clark, I'm going to pause on that and hope that Representative Evans or Representative Holcomb or Alley come up with a phraseology that's better. In the meantime, what I'd like to do is back on 14, Chairman Thomas found a mistake in my amendment. I should have added, after comprehensive state, I should have added and federal level policies and federal. Did you get that, Alley? Line 14?
Yes.
Okay. Representative Clark, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I accept it.
Okay, thank you. Representative Evans?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, in honesty to the committee, I think you need to admit it's confession is good for the soul that you are a member of the Judiciary Committee. You keep talking about it as like we're in the third person. But I do appreciate the nod, and I was just talking to Representative Tran, and I think a way to do what y'all are both saying, perhaps with fewer words, is just, for example, in line 3, after aircraft, insert comma including from foreign adversaries, and then a comma after adversary. So it would read, whereas drones and unmanned aircraft, including from foreign adversaries, pose a potential security, blah, blah, blah. And you could spread that throughout.
Representative Clark, in legal phraseology, including is not an exhaustive list. So I do believe that that amendment meets the intent of Representative Tran, at the same time meets your intent to make sure that there's still a focus on adversary. Do you agree, sir?
I agree. Thank
So
you.
for clarity, Representative Evans, that would be line 3, line 12. A little help from the committee. Are we missing any lines?
I don't know that you need it on 12.
So not on line 12? I was just doing Control F. put a little geekdom back into this committee, take out the judiciary.
It's not needed.
It's not needed? Okay, so just on 3? Is that okay, Representative Clark?
As long as it's on 3, it provides the
Yeah.
larger scope that I'm looking
Okay,
for.
that's good.
Okay, thank you. Ally, at this point, have you gotten all the amendments?
So, Chairman, could I just quickly review?
If you could, I think it'd be good for everyone to understand what they're about to vote on. Can you come to the mic if you don't mind? Tell me what number? $14.
All right, so here are the changes that I have. On line 12, after drones, insert and chipsets. On line 14, before Georgia, add the state of. And after Georgia, add and the United States federal government, and then make a grammatical change to lax, changing it to lack. On line 14, add after state and federal. On line 21, add after the period.
Wait, is this after the period or before the period?
Oh, we're deleting the period.
Right, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, deleting the period and inserting as well as the potential coordination of federal, state, and local governments in developing procedures to ensure that interdictions take into account the safety and protection of local communities. And then finally, we have line 3. After unmanned aircraft, insert a comma, including from foreign adversaries, comma, and then continue on with the remainder of that sentence.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Are there any objections to voting that as a block? Hearing none, all in favor of the block amendments, please say aye. All opposed? Great. Any further discussion? So the question now is, as amended, House Resolution 817 LC 560389 with the block of friendly amendments. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Congratulations, sir. You now have the most mocked up resolution in the history of the General Assembly. One last thing before we adjourn. If you have it here, it's a 2-page document. The GTA Innovation Lab, we are invited there on Thursday. Lunch will be provided. It's right here on Capitol Hill, so hopefully it'll be easy for you to get to. And we'd love to be able to have you there. And what we asked them to do was what could best be described as an executive summary TED Talk in terms of what are the things being done. We thought you would find this intriguing, and since it was a committee day, you're already here. The idea was get you here while you're here versus asking you to take a trip back to Capitol Hill 2 months from now, for instance. So hopefully you have an opportunity to get there. If you have any questions, please ask me or Stacey Williams. She's coordinating. Okay? Thank you so much, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.